Hey, welcome back to Variety Homestead. Today we're going to do pork bellies. Now we've done these before, showed two different curing methods, so you ought to check those videos out. And today I'm going to go back to the first curing method, which is actually curing them in meat lugs, which we had purchased last year or before we did the first batch. So I'm going to show you the ingredients, and then I'm going to show you the detail of how much I put on there, and then we're going to put them under refrigeration for about 3 days. So yeah, about 3 days, and then I'm going to take them out and put them in the smokehouse, which I'll also show you all that too. So without any further ado, let's cure and smoke some bacon. All right, this is the lug that we're going to be putting them in. You've seen this in another video. It's got the little table rack that goes in there so the drippings can go down in there. There's a lid. But I've got the bacon, or the future bacon, pork bellies. Now these are store-bought pork bellies, so I rinsed them off really, really well. They were cryo-sealed, which is, sometimes they get a little slimy. These weren't very slimy, but I rinsed them off really, really good. Patted them dry very well, and now I'm just letting them sit here. Then we've got a bowl. We've got a measuring cup. We've got about 5 teaspoons-ish of fresh ground black pepper. We've got light brown sugar. We've got blackstrap molasses. Now, Debbie told me she couldn't find any, but apparently she did. Now, it comes in a gallon, which means we got to use it up because it's only got about a year on it. But blackstrap molasses, I've been told, is the absolute best to use. I'm going to show you how to do this, how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to barely rub this down with the molasses so that the cure will stick. And then I got Redmond's real salt. So basically, I've just got a few ingredients here. And I'll give you the proportions of everything when I get set up to actually do it. You won't be able to see my beautiful face probably, but you will be able to see all the mixing ingredients. And then, of course, I have the obligatory cup of coffee. So I'm going to be curing these pork bellies for about 3 days, and then I'm going to put them in the smokehouse, and I'm going to take you with me on the entire journey. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I have 1/2 cup of Redmond's real salt in this bowl here. I have the molasses here. Now this blackstrap molasses, this is probably more than enough to do both, and this is just a 2 to 4 ounce little plastic cup. And then I've got what actually looks like, I said a few minutes ago, 5 teaspoons. I don't think that's the case. I think that it's less than that. And this is a 1/4 teaspoon. So that's a lot. Let's go all the way up. Let's see, this is a 1/2 tablespoon. So, yeah, so this is a 1/2 tablespoon. So I'm going to say maybe 3/4 of a tablespoon of the fresh ground black pepper. To this salt, I'm going to add the black pepper, and I'm going to add 1 whole cup of light brown sugar. Now, I guess you can use dark brown sugar. The last batch we made, or the first batch we made where I did a salt sugar cure, it was too salty because I put 75, 25. I put 75 salt to 25 brown sugar, and that was just a little too salty. Oh, don't let me get me wrong. It was good. It ate good. But what you needed to do with that was soak it. So you needed to take, if it gets that way, you need to take and soak it for about 10-15 minutes in warm water, and it'll draw a bunch of that salt out. So the salt won't be overpowering. And then the next batch we made, I went 50-50 with the salt and brown sugar. Did not use molasses, and it was much better. It was still just a tad salty, but it wasn't so salty that we had to soak it. It was just a little more salty. So the thing is about this stuff is you got to understand that you and I are used to eating store-bought bacon. And this store-bought bacon, the issue with that is it's not very salty at all, and it's not cured for preservation. This is going to be cured for preservation, or preservation-like. And when they did stuff in the old days, they did not have refrigeration. So when they cured meat, pork, venison, even beef, they would cure it to last without refrigeration. I am practicing that, although bacon at our house does not last. We eat bacon most of the week. We do supplement with sausage. We do supplement once in a blue moon with corned beef hash. But basically, bacon is where it's at for us. And as a result, we want bacon. So it will not last that long. So I'll sit this off to the side, and I'm going to move my lug top over here so that you can see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start fat side up. I'm going to store it in the lug fat side down. But I'm just going to get me a little bit of molasses here. Whoops, that's a lot. And a little bit here. And by the way, just for the sake of weight, I have 9.5 pounds of pork belly here. 9.5 pounds. So you see, all I'm doing is browning it, or just smearing it here, and just barely getting it on here, because all I want to do is have the cure stick to it. I'm not really interested in trying to, coat it down to do a whole bunch, except for the cure to stick to it. So I think I might need a little more for this one. I didn't put nearly as much. And we'll sit that there. And yes, I am going to do the sides, but first, just want to get this back part coated here. And that looks good to go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle the cure on. And one of the mistakes that newbies like, and we made the same mistake, was in curing meat, was we absolutely used way too much salt. Sugar is also a curing agent, and we just absolutely used too much salt. And that's what came out. Comes out real salty. Now, if you like that, and if you want to use it as for side meat and things like that, to put in greens, beans, various and sundry items like that, then you're going to be loving using a heavy salt. Some people only cure with salt, and that's perfectly okay. Nothing wrong with that either. And let me get some over here. And it looks like I might have made too much of the cure. but fat side down, or fat side down is how we're going to cure it, and it's not, doesn't have to have a ton down here because I don't know. The purpose of the cure is to draw moisture out of the meat. That's what cures it, is drying it out. It draws the moisture out, and it will stay good for, I mean, years, literally years. Now, like I said, bacon is not going to last at my house for years by any stretch of the imagination. It is not. But now I'm going to flip this over. And there's the other side. So we are now, go ahead, I'm going to slide this over a little bit. And there we go. All right. So back to the molasses. And that's probably good for that. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. Got to make sure that I get a little bit on the sides here this time. And again, all I'm doing with that is using this molasses to absolutely give me a little bit of a cover so that the cure sticks to this really well. And since we are not big users of molasses, we're going to have to come up with some uses for this molasses, because we got most of a gallon of it. All right, now we're going to hit this one, go a little bit heavier so I can get those sides. And get those real good. And this promises to be some great bacon. Now, lest you think that this is going to come out too sweet, I'm telling you, I don't believe so. This is essentially what my next door neighbor had, and he's a quarter of a mile away. But sometimes we get together and we swap war stories, curing and smoking hams and various and sundry things like that. And quite independently, he got into this idea too, and we both built smokehouses independently. And he did some bacon and brought my wife and I some of his, about a half a pound. And the only thing I can say to you about that is that was great. That was some great stuff. And this is basically his recipe. So since my hands are now messed up with this molasses, I'm going to sprinkle this stuff on here by hand after dumping it on there a little bit so that I don't totally mess up. Maybe I won't have too much cure because I'm getting the sides too really well. And I might come out just about right. So the directions I gave you for the cure, the quantities, and I don't think I mentioned the light brown sugar, but I do want to do that. I do want to mention that light brown sugar because you saw me pour it. So it was a cup. It was a cup of light brown sugar that I ended up putting on there into the mix. And I'm telling you, it's not sweet. My wife does not like sweet meat at all. And she was raving about that particular bacon. So she said, when we do the next batch of bacon, that's what we need to do. So guess what I'm doing? I'm doing that. So I'm pressing this in while I'm rubbing it. I'm not rubbing it like a meat rub, like you would be, putting dry rub on a brisket or anything. Not like that. I'm pushing it around and pressing it in at the same time, so that you can. It might look like I'm doing that, and make sure I get on the sides good there, and over here. And yes, I'm making a mess, but it is what it is at this point. And making sure to get the cure on the sides real good. And that's the point of the molasses, because when I did this before with just salt, excuse me, and a little bit of brown sugar, it was falling off the sides. Now I'm going to show you another little trick, if I can get the camera angle right, when I put this in there, because they say these things shouldn't be touching. Well, they're going to have to touch. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do when I go to put them into the lug, which I'm going to do in just a sec. So I've got one pretty large one here. This one's bigger. So I'm putting them in the lug, and this one's going to overlap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more of this cure right along this edge here, and I'm going to sprinkle it just on the edge, just so that I don't get any worries about, this meat touching. See, it's touching a little bit. So I got it resting on there. Then I'm going to come back here on this edge. And that way I'm not endangering anything. All right, we are going to get this under refrigeration, and we're going to let her sit for 3 days. Okay, now it's time to wash off the pork bellies. So they have been curing for just a tad over 3 days. So I'm going to give you they've firmed up some, and we're going to be washing the cure off, and then we're going to dry them off, and then we're going to put them in the smoker. All right, so we're going to be washing these off in cold water, and I want to make sure that I get all the cure off of them. At the same time, all I'm trying to do here is just clean them up from the cure. Sit in the draining board for just a moment while I wash off the lug pan that it's been sitting in under refrigeration for several days. There's the juice that comes off from the salt, the sugar, from the pork. And I'm going to give this a quick rinse. I'm not going to scrub it out just yet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pat dry the bellies, and then I'm going to put them back in there to continue to dry while I carry them out to the smokehouse. Or actually, I'm going to put them on the hooks, and I'll show you all this. I'm going to put them on the hooks to have them dry off for a little while before I actually put them in the smoker. So get these up here, give them a good pat, because the smoke's going to adhere to them better if they are dry than it will if they are wet. And so I need to get me more paper towels here. All right, so I'm going to hang this bacon up. So, or it's not bacon yet. Did you see how the color changed some? I'm not sure if you can see that well, but the color did change, which is a good thing. So I'm just going to hang these up and let them dry out a little bit. And you know, that's the thing about these prongs. Let me tell you, they are sharp. Try to feel where they are, because if you stick yourself, you will know it. And have no desire to stick myself. All right, so we got that one, and we'll do this one. And it really doesn't make any difference. Size a little thicker, a little bit thicker. So we'll get him situated. All right, so we will hang these up. The bacon is, well, not yet bacon. The pork bellies are hanging in the smokehouse. They're dry. And while I'm getting ready to set up, I have started in the little chimenea a very small amount of charcoal. This is easy. These things are super easy. Take you a couple pieces of standard newspaper and you just wad them up and light them, and then it takes, yeah, I don't know, 15-20 minutes, and then I'm going to dump that in here, and then I'll start putting wood on it. Now what I'm going to be using today is hickory, which bacon's real good with hickory. So I'm going to be using hickory, which is right here. And I'm also going to be using apple, which is in the center here. And then over here, I'm going to be using pecan, which these pieces in the round, I usually split those. And I split them right there on that little block before I throw them in. So that's basically all the pecan I've got. This is this first bin right here. That being said, I have 10 or 11 pecan trees out here, so I have a never-ending supply of pecan, and I do need to cut some more up. I've had a lot of branches hit the ground, so I need to cut some more up. Up here's a little bit of oak and cherry. So the cherry's right here on the bottom. I got like next to nothing there, and then I got oak. Oak is real good for smoking too. And up there's some apple, and I don't get hickory local, so we bought that hickory in a year or two ago. It was on sale for these big boxes of mini logs, so Debbie picked up a bunch of those. So as soon as these coals in here start to glow, we're going to dump them in, and we're going to get this thing smoking. So here's the whole setup from afar. You might be able to see the slabs hanging in there. You see the wood on the right. I built this last year before. So I did a video on it and Showed you, it's more of a pictorial video because I wasn't videoing at the time. But this will give you an idea. This is something you can do too. You can do this in a suburban area. Again, I did not use any pressure treated wood on this. It was all pine. It's painted on the outside, not painted on the inside, and it's definitely something you can do. So check out that video when you get a chance too. Okay, we're gonna go in here with these coals, this charcoal. I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm just going to sort of disperse them a little bit here. They're not totally they wouldn't be ready to grill, but for what I'm going to do, I'm using them to start wood, so they're going to be fine. All right, we're going to go in here with a few pieces of pecan to start off with to get us going and get us a fire going. Like I said, pecan here is a totally renewable resource. So all I'm interested in doing now is starting a fire. Once the fire gets going, then I'll start adding some hickory and some apple and getting it. All right, it took about 5 minutes and the coals caught the pecan on fire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this burn down some. Don't want to close it up just yet. I want to let it burn a little bit and generate even some more coals. It is putting off some smoke, but I don't want it to get too hot in the smoker. So right now it's somewhere in the 60-degree range inside the smoker. So I don't want to go up much above 100 degrees. It's okay. I could go to 120, 140, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Today's an exceptionally warm day for this time of the year. It's supposed to get to be like 63 today or something, which is not a record, but it's pretty darn warm. So I don't want it to go too awful hot, because the bottom line is after we slice this, we're going to freeze it anyway. So although I cured it for preservation, it is not necessary to not refrigerate it in this particular case. So we're just going to throw it in the freezer and eat it, like we did with store-bought bacon until we started making our own, and like we still do sometimes when we run out when I haven't cured anymore. So I'm gonna let this burn for a little bit, and then we're going to throw some apple on there and a little bit of hickory, and then we're going to close the door up and let her run. All right, now we're gonna go on with a little bit of hickory and get that flaming a little bit. I'm gonna throw a couple pieces of apple on there. There's a couple of pieces of apple to augment the hickory. All right, they've caught, so I'm gonna take my stick and do just a tad shift here. Yeah, and then we're gonna close this door because that stuff's gonna start smoking really good. And you can probably see that smoke coming out of there now. So we got some smoke rolling. So I'm going to close the door after I unhook it, of course. And we're going to all right. That's going to be us for a few minutes, and we'll see how she goes. Here we are with it in the pan, Let's zoom in so you can see that. I've got this on a medium low heat because I don't want to burn it. And we're going to be eating some of this stuff up in just a second. And this is what it's like, just sliced up. Before I put it in the pan, you can see it's really good stuff. And here it is off the smoker. I smoked it for about 14 hours total. And I actually pulled it out and sliced it just to trim it up. I had it in the fridge overnight. Just wanted to see what it was going to look like and cook up some bacon. So I did. I cooked up a few pieces, and I'm going to tell you something. It is absolutely delicious. So this is how it looks. It has this brown patina on it, and there's the fat side. And it is absolutely delicious. For my wife, not too sweet. It's not very sweet at all. She doesn't like sweet. But that molasses did add a little teeny bit of a back to it, but it's still delicious. So this is what it looks like, and we are going to fry some more up. I actually fried some up, and it was delicious. So I want to thank you for visiting Variety Homestead, and I hope you have a great one.